Exercise 1. The impact of climate change on animals and plants interacts with habitat loss and fragmentation. This is because the main effect of climate change is to shift the area of where any one species can live successfully. In a warming world, this habitable space moves either polewards across the landscape to the north or south or up in elevation, with species living higher up mountains than ever before. This happens because the area where the mean temperature is 15 degrees Celsius, for example, shifts in these directions under global warming. Survival then depends on whether a particular species can move, and if so, whether there is a suitable pathway for the movements to happen. Neither of these things can be assumed, and where habitats become too fragmented, a suitable pathway for organisms to move to other areas becomes less of a realistic possibility. When a species' habitable space is shifted under the effect of climate change, survival depends on the mobility of the species and the availability of a route to new areas, the latter of which decreases where habitats become too fragmented. Exercise 2. If you have an activity where the results are nearly all skill, you don't need a large sample to draw reasonable conclusions. A world-class sprinter will beat an amateur every time, and it doesn't take a long time to figure that out. But as you move toward the luck side on the skill-luck continuum, you need an ever larger sample to understand the contributions of skill, the causal factors, and luck. In a game of poker, a lucky amateur may beat a pro in a few hands, but the pro's edge would become clear as they played more hands. If finding skill is like finding gold, the skill side of the continuum is like walking into Fort Knox, where the U.S. gold reserves are housed. The gold is right there for you to see. The luck side of the continuum is similar to the tedious work of panning for gold in the American River in California. You have to do a lot of sifting if you want to find the nuggets of gold. When we try to understand the outcomes of an event on the skill versus luck continuum, the more extensive sample size is required for events on the luck side since the outcomes are less predictable. Exercise 3. A paradox of human culture is that many of the technological and biomedical breakthroughs that revolutionized how and how long we live have been strongly opposed at their inception. This is true not only of those who may not understand the science behind each breakthrough, but of scientists, a fact alluded to by the physicist Max Planck. A new scientific truth does not triumph by convincing its opponents and making them see the light, but rather because its opponents eventually die, and a new generation grows up that is familiar with it. Most of us are alive today only because we have benefited from the innumerous advances in public health and medicine over the last century, from vaccines and antibiotics to modern surgical techniques and cancer therapies. Yet most transformative biomedical advances have met with significant resistance, from vaccines to organ transplants and in vitro fertilization, and today the same holds true for stem cell research. Technological and biomedical advancements, when introduced initially, have encountered strong opposition, not only from lay people, but even from scientists, but they have eventually been accepted as the generational shift of a society takes place. Exercise 4. Finding themselves existentially homeless in the real world, many have found the experience of community online, especially in the form of social networks. The influence of online communities has drastically increased with the ubiquity of digital connectivity afforded by smartphones. The logic of modern technology drives addiction to digital distraction, such that our immediate concerns are often ignored for the sake of minor matters that are magnified in importance. A state of semi-distractedness seems to permeate most of our existence within the digital 21st century. True individual character is vanishing because we are expected to flexibly redefine ourselves to consistently changing conditions. Mediated and representational existence contributes to the perceived flatness of reality by creating a numbness in the soul, which makes it difficult to perceive the differences of quality and gravitas between experiences. Absorbed in online communities, people are liable to dismiss their real-world problems and lose their individuality, as well as fail to recognize reality as it is.